You're on.
Chuck, you gave me the perfect lead-in for today's presentation. 5 minutes ago, you asked why the elevators weren't fixed in a reasonable length of time. You've been here 5 years, and they aren't fixed. Well, here's why. Your staff wrote a report on a Henry Hudson Bridge, the yellow line. Where they put the poles up is a physical barrier. They can't cross it. Well, they wrote a report that said, we know that we may take the poles off in the middle of the winter time, and they think they know it. Downstairs in front of this building are the same white poles. They've been there as long as I've been coming here to these meetings. They've never been removed. The staff that they have that thinks in their minds they can write their own rules is wrong. The line where they put the poles up so you shouldn't cross, therefore a driver obeys the law. To say that we're going to put a white line there because we know we may take them out some winter, that's in their mind. And their thinking is such that they make decisions based on their personal feelings and not on the law. So now you, instead of sitting over there and asking why they don't fix it, you're sitting over there with the ability to say, I want that line painted yellow tomorrow. And once that line is painted yellow and you cannot cross it because us drivers, we kind of obey the law, even if the guy over there doesn't, when I'm speaking, cuts me off improperly. Once it's painted yellow, then you have to ask why those two guide signs are up there telling drivers to go left here when you've got a physical barrier. That's idiotic, to say the least. That's the culture where staff has said, we're in control and you can't do anything about it. You can't get the elevators fixed. You don't put the lines in right. And when those two guide signs have to come down, and one belongs to you and the other belongs to New York State, who takes responsibility to say, this is crazy? We're making people crazy in road rage. You're saying go there and there's a brick wall. Give us information as drivers we can use. You're sitting up there now as chair of this board. You're not sitting there saying, why aren't the elevators fixed? It's your opportunity to change the way engineering staff thinks we're in control. It's no different than the one in the Roaring Crossing at the Metro North Station. They decided they like red, but it's against the law. And it, in fact, created a financial liability for the MTA because I've stood here, and it's on the tape, and it says in your book that that's part of the record, that that's illegal. And if you don't take any action to immediately remove that red box, anybody who gets injured at any crossing that has a red box gets to sue the MTA and gets paid big money. Now, they want to have married pairs on the MTA? I mean, there's a whole series of things that they get away with because nobody's ever stopped them. It stops now. Harvey Weinstein, thank you. You made it possible for people to come out there and talk about it. I'm out here talking about it, and they've been ignoring me for years and years and years. Guess what? It stopped. Ignore me at your peril, because if I don't do it, somebody else is going to pick it up. Big data knows exactly what's going on, and some lawyer is going to pick it up and sue you.
Thanks, Chuck, and thanks, everybody. There's one more thing I'd like to discuss this month. So first, I reiterate what I said past month, because, like I said, the Cross Bay Bridge within Queens shouldn't have tolls at all because you're just going within the borough. It doesn't make sense. But I reiterate that. But there's something else I'd like to mention. This is not just with the MTA. This is with all like the transit agencies that operate tunnels. That I believe that it is very unfair that pedestrians can't walk through tunnels to try to cross through any river or any crossing just because they don't build any pedestrian walkways. You can build glass, you know, to keep like everybody safe and not necessarily like if that's your concern, but this is also an issue I have with the Port Authority regarding the Lincoln and Holland tunnels and with all of this. Tunnels should be able to, like, pedestrians should be able to like use the tunnel to walk across. It shouldn't just be reserved for only traffic What if they don't have money? What, like, you should at least, like, there should be freedom of movement, just like in bridges. The difference that the bridge is outdoors, the way a crossing's built shouldn't determine whether pedestrians could or could not walk through. So I strongly recommend that the Queens Midtown and Hugh Carey, formerly Brooklyn Battery tunnels, be modified for pedestrian access to walk through, just to make it easier, for those to get across who don't generally, they don't want to use transportation or drive, or just for the pedestrians' benefit, because we're all pedestrians when we walk in sidewalks. So that's a point of thought. Other than that, thanks for the information here. I yield back the balance of my time. See you around for finance. Thanks.
Are there any changes to the work plan? No. President's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon, Commissioners. And welcome to our meeting for November. MTA Bridges and Tunnels had the pleasure of hosting the 47th New York City Marathon at the Verrazano Knowles Bridge on Sunday, November 5th. The event has grown from about 50 finishers in 1970 to about 50,000 in 2017. Thanks to the combined efforts of the MTA Bridges and Tunnels, New York City Police Department and Departments of Sanitation, the New York Roadrunners, and many others, the event got off to a good start and ended very safely. At this point, I would like to ask Dan DiCrescenzo to present the operations report.
Thank you, President Full.
Before you do that, can I just do this? Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? May I have a motion, please? Second. All in favor? Done. Please.
Thank you, Commissioner. The report on operations begins on page 21. To summarize, in September 2017, compared to the same month in 2016, total paid traffic increased by 1.7%. Easy Pass transactions increased by 9.2%. Non-Easy Pass transactions decreased by 44.6%. Passenger car traffic increased by 1.9%. And other traffic decreased by 0.4%. Preliminary monthly traffic figures for October 2017 are 3.7% higher than in the same period of 2016. This ends the report on operations.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Dan. At this point, I'd like for Eric Osnes and then Danny will follow up with the safety report.
Thank you, Cedric. The safety report begins on page 34 and highlights our most important lagging and leading indicators shown on top and bottom tables. The customer collision rate for the most recent 12 months ending September was 8.56, up from the 7.07 rate ending 2016. The injury collision rate for the same period was also up from 0.92 2016 to 1.07 2017. The first chart on page 35 provides year-over-year comparison of monthly collision rates. B&T is increasing its focus on collisions with injuries as we've seen a rate increase for both August and September. We are continuously monitoring employee safety incidents to identify trends as we transition from toll plaza environment to ORT. Year-to-date numbers show that employee lost time injury rates are down 13%, comparing January through September of 2017. Dan DiCrescenzo will now present how B&T is working to improve customer safety. Dan?
Thank you, Eric.
One moment. Could you give us some explanation, if you have any, as to why the Throgs Neck Bridge had that significant an increase in September over August and over much of the preceding period?
The conditions related to traffic and traffic channeling at that time, related to ORT activities, could have potentially drove the collision rate up for that period of time.
What are we doing about it?
Well, at this point in time, the conditions related to traffic channeling is now reverted to more permanent configuration. So the conditions at that time, I've are not applicable to what we're experiencing now.
What happened over the 2 months that have lapsed, not even 2 full months, between now and September, that would cause it to go down? What have you done?
The mitigations that we've been showing the committee with the channelization, the striping, the double lines, the better signage. The signage. We've actually seen in October, I know we're not reporting October, that number driven down substantially over 40%.
Oh, good.
So, in November, so good news to come. It's not here for this month, but we're seeing the fruits of
Yeah, I don't think there's any question from those of us who go through it that, and I went through yesterday, yesterday was significantly different than the month before, and significantly much different than the month before that, because now there's no longer any, now there's nothing there. The last month there was still some zigzag, and the month before there was still things in the middle and you didn't know where to go. And I'm not arguing the point, it made it much more difficult. Sunday, yesterday, you could actually see where to go without any impediments in the way, and hopefully, that will lead to drivers being able to pay just attention to themselves and everybody else and go through the toll area, since it's no longer a toll booth, now a toll area, with a much safer environment. We can only hope.
Just to put that in context, in September we had a rate at that facility of 14.7, I'm sorry, 10.40, correct. Seen it go down to 5.8, and we're looking to keep up. So I just went on to the,
Yeah,
okay, and it,
there's no question. Yep.
So everybody stole my thunder, because that's why I was being quiet. But, you know, great points that was made by everyone, because through the tolling zone now, you know, we looked at the Neck and we looked at the Whitestone, and when you look at the plaza prior to open road tolling, that's where the majority of accidents occurred. So without the toll booths there, the decision points are gone. And again, people hopefully will pay attention more to their driving than finding, do I have to go in an easy pass lane or a cash lane? And,
Have the issue after the toll of 10 lanes going into 3. You now have 3 lanes going into 3. And that was also, as we all know, a significant area in which everybody had to crowd in. And as we all know, nobody watches for anybody else, and it just happens. So that it's both the area before where the tolls were and the area afterward that hopefully will continue this clearly significant improvement, without a doubt.
okay. So in September, 3 out of the 9 facilities saw an increase in collisions and collisions with injuries, Neck being one of those facilities, when compared to the same month last year. Bridges and Tunnels focus on these facilities, again, targeted unsafe driving behavior with stepped-up enforcement, more than doubling summonses issued this year when compared to last September in each of the following categories: unsafe lane change, disobey a traffic control device, and speeding. Total summonses issued for the month were 55.5% higher than last year. We continue to educate our customers by utilizing signage to help them safely navigate our B&T facilities, giving them real-time traffic advisories, letting them know if there's stopped traffic ahead, etc. In addition to our engineering efforts, we improve the physical safety of bridge and tunnel facilities, which include the pavement markings, the delineation, the additional double white lines to minimize the unsafe lane changes, and again, to go with the channelization of facilities in the ORT environment. With all that, the preliminary data, as Pat mentioned, for October indicates a 36% reduction in total collisions authority-wide compared to last October. So we're seeing a little bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. Again, we will continue to monitor this collision data, and we'll continue our mitigation efforts.
Thank you. I guess I would just add to that indeed the phenomena in the ORT, or the former toll collection zone, is different now. And so our work will begin to focus on the other hot spots around the facility, as well as to take into mind issues of speed, because clearly you're seeing on very good days you're moving at a pretty positive rate. I mean, from a mobility perspective, through what used to be some very congested toll areas. So some good work has been done here. So next, what I'd like to do is ask Pat to talk a little bit about the customer and environment report.
okay, thank you, Cedric.
The Customer Environment Survey begins on page 40, and some highlights for the third quarter are: in providing safe and well-maintained facilities, B&T striped over 197,000 linear feet of roadway, repaired 391 potholes, and swept more than 2,700 lane miles of roadway in the third quarter. Over 91% of B&T's roadway lights were operational in the third quarter, and 55% have been converted to a high-efficiency LED through the third quarter. That's up from 40% in the second quarter. More than 1,100 storm drains were cleaned in the third quarter in preparation for hurricane season and winter season approaching. Compared to pre-cashless open road tolling performance, the average peak period travel times improved by 22.5% in the third quarter at the cashless open road tolling facilities. That ends the Customer Environment Report.
Thank you. Mildred, would you like to talk about finances?
Thank you. May I just make a brief comment? I noticed that there's a significant increase in B&T law enforcement from last year to this year, 106% increase in summonses, and that's incredible. Not for those who are violating, but in terms of safety. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Thank you.
Okay, the EasyPass report for September begins on page 51. Our overall EasyPass market share reached another new record in September at 92.4% as part of our rollout of ORT system-wide. This is 6.3% higher than the year before. Our goal is to achieve the highest market share possible to enable more cost-effective operations, since it costs us more to administer the tolls by mail program than the EasyPass program. The specific facility, peak hour, and weekend statistics are found in the book on pages 51 to 56. Beginning in January 2018, we will be transitioning the EasyPass performance report to focus on open road tolling performance and revenues collected by facility. So far, the collection rate for the Henry Hudson and the tunnels has been very good, with more than 100% of revenue collected when fees are included. And the trends of the Rockaways are very similar. For other facilities that went live later, like the RFK and the VN, it is still too early in their billing cycles to have definitive numbers, but the preliminary trends look promising. If there are no questions, I will move on to the financial report.
Let me, if I may, just pursue that for a moment. Did I understand correctly that based on very preliminary figures, the collection rate, now that we have moved to open road tolling, is roughly the same as it was previously under the toll system?
Yes, it is. Just a little bit more, like 100.3%.
So it's a little improved?
Yes.
Questions?
Financial report for September begins on page 57. We are comparing results against the July mid-year forecast. First is the report on toll revenue. Through September, it was about $1.428 billion, which is 0.2% lower than the mid-year forecast. And this is a result of the lower than average toll for EasyPass transactions. Traffic through September is 0.4% above forecast at 230.9 million crossings. Preliminary October traffic is up 1.5% for the month, which brings the year-to-date favorable variance up to 0.6% against the July plan. Report on expenses. Year to date, they are about $366.6 million through September, which is about $21.2 million or 5.5% lower than planned. Our support to mass transit was $857.9 million through September, which is around $43.1 million or 5.3% better than planned. This concludes the financial report.
The capital plan begins on page 72. Overall, we have already exceeded our annual commitment goal, with total commitments achieved year to date at about 101% of our annual plan of $527.7 million. Please refer to pages 73 and 74 of the book for details. We're also very close to meeting our overall annual completion goal of $527.8 million. With the recent on-time completion of the $102.9 million reconstruction of the Manhattan approach ramps at the RFK Bridge, bringing our annual completions to 99% of our overall annual goal. Please refer to pages 75 through 77 of the book for additional details on completions. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
I have two questions. The first is regarding two design-build projects on page 82 of the book. One totaling $34 million and the second totaling $23. Can you remind us, please, what those projects are for? It says install electronic monitoring and detection systems.
Yes. The project you're referring to is a integrated electronic security and monitoring project for the RFK bridges and the Whitestone Bridge. As you said, it's a design-build project. It's currently in the final stages of its procurement, and it will provide basically electronic monitoring and access control for the various sensitive areas of our facilities.
My second question is, I notice there's a notable increase in Gateway Tower projects since actually the July committee meetings. Is that because that work is being expedited, or is the reporting in the committee books just improved around those capital projects?
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what specifically you're referring to.
Particularly on pages 85 and moving throughout, there's a lot more work noted as Gateway Tower beacon purchase, or just Gateway Tower. And if you recall, this particular project of the Gateway Towers was the subject of a good deal of media scrutiny around security and such. So I noticed that there are many more projects identified as Gateway Tower projects than there had been in July. And my question is really, is it because we're reporting it differently, or is the work being expedited or concentrated, etc.?
Yeah, go ahead.
The format of the report basically has our commitment plan for the year, and then we have a section where all these new tasks are in called unplanned commitments. So what it is that as we are ready to procure them, we would identify them under the planned commitments section of the report. So they were always included in our budget. However, they are not part of the commitment plan that's always there for the entire year. So that's why you would see that section change month to month, because we call them unplanned commitments because they were not baselined at the beginning of this year as part of our overall annual plan.
Brian Bazier.
Thank you, Cedric. Procurements start on page 90. There are 3 procurements that total $6.7 million. There's one non-competitive procurement in the amount of $548,858. There are 2 competitive procurements this month in the amount of $6.17 million. There are no ratifications. The one non-competitive procurement is to award a miscellaneous procurement contract to Rapid Toll Systems for the installation and maintenance of a video-based audit system or data logger to monitor the performance of the new open road toll cashless tolling system and aid in the protection of B&T's $1.9 billion in revenues in the amount of $548,858. There are 2 competitive procurements. One is to award a personal service contract for the quality oversight and administration for design build project BW 39 RK60, the installation of an electronic security system and fire alarm detection system to WSP USA in the amount of $4,414,813.25. The second procurement is to award a personal service contract to GPI Parsons Joint Venture for the construction administration and inspection services for project RK22, interim repairs to the FDR ramps at the RFK Bridge in the amount of $1,751,005.87. Unless there are any questions, these procurements are described in detail in the enclosed staff summaries.
Let me just take a motion to approve. Is there a second?
For the rapid toll procurement, it's for a period of 1 year. What happens after that 1 year? Does the monitoring cease?
Well, I think it's continue. We're going to continue to, test. We're going to continue that audit and see, what happens, how the results show, and then we'll readdress it at that time.
So do you anticipate that monitoring, shifting internally to MTA?
Well, much of it is capital intensive, right? So the audit-based system is also the installation of like a redundant camera system. So
and that'll be the procurement of it. That's for the equipment installed, and that should be the one-time cost. I know
Yes.
what you're getting at. Is that a recurring?
There should be
It's not.
there should be very minimal ongoing costs.
Yeah, does that contract, is that going to pick up the toll evasion, the people that evade by covering their license plate with a reflector? Is that auditing going to pick that up, or are they monitoring you picking that up? And I'm not even saying that that's a significant group of people numerically. I mean, I think it's a very small group of people. So are the turnstile jumpers in the subway, but this is kind of like turnstile jumping for Mercedes. But is this system, does that pick that up if somebody is able to evade?
Yeah, the primary purpose is really to audit the existing system integrator who's picking, those license plates up. So that's really not the primary purpose. We're picking that up in our normal course of business with say TransCore.
Do you ever report that in here? I just have missed it, or do you ever report how many people you're picking up that are doing that?
We have enforcement numbers. I know what you're saying as far as a technical aspect. If we can capture that I'm not sure. I have enforcement numbers if you're looking for that.
Yeah.
So far this year, between the MTA Bridges and Tunnels and the State Police, we wrote over 8,000 summonses for people covering or obstructing their license plates.
Not one guy 8,000 times. That's
No, hopefully.
So the rapid toll procurement is just for the Verrazano?
It's for all facilities.
All facilities?
Yeah.
Oh. And then you'll be reporting the findings that gives you to us from all the facilities on a facility basis?
Really, what that's doing is our system works now, but it has certain performance criteria. This is a system from a third party, from our installation, to make sure we're getting what we...
We're getting it right.
So, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's protection for us.
Okay.
Okay? It's an insurance policy, I would call it.
Oh, there was a motion, there was a second. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Done. Now, page 17 is the committee charter. I guess we're voting on those all in December, aren't we?
Correct. Just minor changes reflected on page 17.
Okay. Very good. Anything else? What are the minor changes?
Consistency amongst the agencies.
All right. Anything else on the motion to adjourn? Second, done.